Hello, this is John Reon, and welcome to the real world as we are seeking truth daily together. As we see that Joe Biden in his first week of office has canceled and stopped construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. And here you can see a map as how long it is that it would deliver oil from Alberta all the way down to Texas. And now with this being shut down, thousands of people have lost their jobs, and they're high-paying jobs. Also, due to this pipeline not being completed, all the structure that is built is going to just be sitting out there, not being maintained, and it'll just go to rust. And now they're going to have to deliver the oil by way of truck or by way of rail, which is a lot less safe than by way of pipeline. And it's also more polluting as far as CO2 emissions from trucks and from rail. So by way of shutting down this pipeline, more pollutants will be put into the air because of different means of transporting the oil all the way from Alberta down to the refineries in Texas. So let's take a listen to what the people who were working on the pipeline have to say about what Joe Biden has done, because he also killed a lot of jobs in Pittsburgh or in Pennsylvania because this pipeline was being built using only American-made steel. Seek the truth daily, my friends. The truth will find you seeking.
Good afternoon. The recent actions of President Joe Biden, executive order halting the construction of the Keystone pipeline, has affected Michaels, thousands of union trade members across the country, and hundreds of guys that specifically work in Wisconsin. To discuss this further, I'd like to introduce my congressman from the 1st District, Ryan Stiles.
Thanks, man. On Joe Biden's first day in office, he killed thousands of American jobs. Joe Biden killed hundreds of Wisconsin jobs. On Joe Biden's first day in office, hundreds of Wisconsin workers got laid off of their job building private sector infrastructure. Joe Biden needs to reconsider his decision immediately. Think about this. On Joe Biden's first day in office, thousands of people received a notice that they've been laid off of their job. These are jobs, good paying jobs, $80,000, $90,000 a year, $30, $40 an hour jobs are laid off. Sometimes it seems abstract that a pipeline in North and South Dakota moving oil and gas from Canada to the United States could impact Wisconsin workers. But as you stand here at Michaels today, as you stand and look at the men behind me, these are the type of workers that lost their job this week. Joe Biden needs to reconsider this action immediately. We need to have good paying jobs in the United States of America. We need to have good paying jobs here in Wisconsin. Not only is it impacting jobs, it has a huge impact on our foreign policy. We need to have a North American supply of oil and gas. Joe Biden's decision makes us more dependent on the Middle East, more dependent on Russia, more dependent on Venezuela for our supply of energy. I find his decision disgusting. Hundreds of Wisconsin workers lost their job this week because of what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden needs to immediately reconsider this action and put Wisconsin workers back to work. I'd now like to pause and pass it to my good friend, Congressman Glenn Grothman. Glenn?
Thank you, Brian. As Brian said, it's kind of a rocky first week here for the Biden administration. I know a lot of the comments over the next few years are going to be around minimum wage jobs. But here you're talking about 10,000 jobs in the $80,000, $90,000 an hour range that are gone. Beyond that, when we talk about trade, we talk about our relationship with China, our relationship with Japan or whatever. It's easy to forget, and they're almost dead even, our number 1 and 2 trading partners in the world are Canada and Mexico, and it's so important that we have good relationships with both of them. Now, already a lot of this pipeline's been built. I'm sure Canada felt this was a done deal as part of their economic development, and on day one, Joe Biden comes out of the chute and pops Canada right in the face. I mean, amateur night at the White House. I'll tell you that. I don't know who he's getting his ideas from. I thought it was at that speech the other day. I thought maybe Lady Gaga thought this would be a good idea. But in any event, I hope not only when he thinks about the people who lost their jobs, but I hope when he thinks about our relationship with Canada, that he reconsiders and gets us back on the straight and narrow. Now I'd like to introduce things to my boss here, Scott Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Glenn. I think there's a time for political rhetoric, and we heard a lot about the pipeline this fall. I think I'm shocked and disappointed that we're standing here today having this press conference at the Michaels Corporation, headquartered up in Brownsville. I mean, it's a great American company that literally just got the rug pulled out from underneath them, and certainly disappointing. I saw that President Biden had a stack of executive orders sitting on his desk, and one by one he was signing those and then making a comment trying to make a political point. I'm not sure who the constituency is that he did this for, but I'm hopeful, not only by being here today, but I think other elected officials, whether it's at the state legislative level or in Congress, that's where the answer is to reverse this. And it also means that Canadian officials, I'm sure, will be reaching out to President Biden saying, this is a big mistake. This is a big mistake. So not only I think it's important to have the Republican members of Congress here, but, I think there's probably employees that are represented by Representative Moore and Senator Baldwin, Representative Pocan and Representative Kind, others that could reach out to those elected officials as well and say, call the White House. Call the White House and ask them to undo this mess that they've created, and let's get these people back to work. So it's unfortunate that we're here today, but I think it's necessary because it's kind of a last-ditch effort to save these jobs and get this thing reversed. So thank you.
Happy to answer any questions. Adam, yeah.
Obviously, the pipeline has been a controversial project for decades now. Why do you believe that the jobs here, I don't know if the right word would be, outweigh the environmental concerns, and particularly the concerns of indigenous people who live in northern Minnesota or near the border?
The environmental concerns are very misleading to a lot of people. So the oil and gas is still going to be transported into the United States of America. It's going to be done by rail, a less efficient means of moving oil and gas with greater risk to the environment from rail accidents, far less safe than a pipeline. And so I think it's very misleading the way that Joe Biden explained this. And it's had a real direct impact on the workers here in the state of Wisconsin. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that or not.
Oh, that's true. When you talk about the environment, like Brian said, a pipeline is safer than rail.
Can we have you come up to the microphone?
Yeah, like Brian said, when you talk about solely the environment, a pipeline is safer than rail, and certainly safer than truck. So, other than, like I said, other than to cater to some uninformed environmentalists, and that's what I said a little sarcastically, Lady Gaga, but that crowd who doesn't really know what's going on in the world, if your sole concern was the environment, you would rather have stuff be transported by pipeline.
How how is Michael's quote affected directly? I'm not sure if you can know the answer.
I'm happy to let the Michaels team answer that directly, but Michaels employees, Michaels is a subcontractor for TC, which is doing the pipeline. And when this was terminated, all the work stopped on the Keystone pipeline. And so workers from Michaels, workers from other companies in the state of Wisconsin who were on the project this week were laid off this week by the action of Joe Biden.
Representative, there's been talk about a bill in Congress that might try to challenge what the president did. What have you heard? Any thoughts about a bill?
Those conversations are just beginning. I'm going to do everything I can to overturn this decision, and I think my colleagues stand with me on that.
Is there a vote or a way it can structure that would survive a veto? I mean, what sort of strategy, what sort of things would the bill say, maybe?
We're 48 hours into this. This is the conversations that we need to be having immediately to override this decision.
The administration, sorry,
Yeah, Ricardo.
Journal Sentinel, the administration said in their logic that in 2015, according to a State Department report, the pipeline didn't necessarily meet national interest or national security interest. I was just wondering on your comments on that report.
I couldn't disagree more with that conclusion.
What about the push toward wind, solar, renewable over the next decade, and then less emphasis on carbon-based fuels? That's what the administration seems to be saying. That's what the renewable energy industry seems to be saying, that we're going to be kind of moving away towards something else.
This is private sector investment. And so I'm a believer in an all of the above approach. And so this private sector investment should be allowed to go forward. And two, I think it's very misleading to a lot of folks that this doesn't actually stop the oil and gas from coming into the United States. What it's doing is forcing this oil and natural gas to come in via train, which is less environmentally friendly and at a higher risk to the environment than a very safe pipeline would be able to provide.
Some people might look at your campaign contributions and saw some executives from Michaels did donate to your campaign. Any comments on that?
I'm standing here with the workers who lost their job. I'm concerned about Wisconsin workers. And when Wisconsin workers lose their job by the actions of Joe Biden, I'm going to stand up every single day for Wisconsin workers.
Can some of those lost jobs be shifted to the wind and solar, like Chuck mentioned, that are lost here today?
I don't know that that's a lot of solace to the men and women who lost their jobs this week, that there might be a potential future job. A future job doesn't pay the mortgage, it doesn't cover the rent, it doesn't pay the grocery bill. People lost their jobs this week by the action of Joe Biden.
We have time for one more question.
Did you also hear from the gentleman from Michaels as to what the facts and figures are, the number of jobs affected, et cetera? Talk about that, please.
Yeah, right now the numbers of jobs are thousands of jobs. There's Michaels, there's Precision Pipeline that would have affected that the pipeline was going to be constructed. The actions that were happened recently, we were doing station work. There's hundreds of guys that got laid off. Was that Tuesday?
Are any live in Wisconsin? Or
Yes, a lot of them live in Wisconsin. Yes.
That's an important point to know. These are thousands. I'll jump over with you.
Yep.
You say there are. I'm going to take my mask off. There's thousands of jobs that were lost. Some estimates are saying 10,000 jobs. I think that's pretty close. 10,000 total jobs. But hundreds of those jobs are Wisconsin workers. That this is where Michaels and other companies in Wisconsin, we build stuff in Wisconsin. We're really good at building stuff in Wisconsin. And so it's Wisconsin employees that are going to places that are more remote, North and South Dakota, to do the work. And hundreds of Wisconsin workers were laid off this week by the action of Joe Biden. Appreciate all you guys being here. It's an important topic. We got a little bit of Packers weather here. Go Pack.
This is what I think.
Yeah?
I didn't like that one question. If these guys lose their job, maybe they can work on solar energy. Where do you work? Yeah. The Journal Sentinel. See, it's like if you lost your job tomorrow, we say, well, that's okay. There's another job that doesn't pay as well in Eau Claire. Maybe something will open up there for you. You know, what a callous thing to say to the people who got laid off. It's just seemed to bug me a little bit.
I mean, I didn't ask that question. Okay.
Thanks everybody for being here.
I'm sorry, who did that? Oh, you did. Okay. I'm sorry.
WTMJ.